Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of BSing Sports here on the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Today is our Eagles recap show, so you know what that means. It's me, Bill, and I got my boy Kyle here with me. Camera's reversed. Got my boy Kyle here with me. How we doing, Kyle?
What's up?
All right, so yeah, I mean, we know why we're here. Let's just get right into it, right? Glad Valdez can't catch. I don't know what that is. Oh, Valdez can't link. Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get into that. Yeah. But let's first and foremost, right? QB1. Let's give him a little bit of a chat here. He goes for 63.6 completion percentage, 150 yards, no passing touchdowns, but 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 interception, 64.6 QBR on the night. Listen, he didn't have to be perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts and his performance last night?
Well, I mean, I think there was a lot of back and forth going on between him and Brian Johnson. I think there's a lot of in fact, the play, I think it was like in the fourth, there was I think 8 minutes or something like that left. When he throws the deep ball to Devontae Smith, he audibled that play actually, and then
He did.
They kind of argued about it off the sideline. So I think there was a lot going on, or there has been a lot going on between the two of them. They have a lot of history, obviously. Maybe a bit of a rivalry between them.
Maybe
not
a little
working
bit
out in our favor necessarily all the time.
I mean, yes and no. They're still 9-1. They just went into Kansas City after a bye week for Kansas City and beat Big Red, who's phenomenal off of bye weeks in Kansas City, where in November Patrick Mahomes has never lost. Like these are huge storylines that the Eagles just walked in there and disrupted. Now, look, I'm not saying that. Again, the Eagles didn't play perfect football. They didn't, and that's what's still amazing about this team at 9-1 is they're not playing their best football, and they're 9-1.
Yeah.
Playing with a light there.
No, I was trying to look at the rushing yards of DeAndre Swift actually.
Gotcha. I actually don't have that stat pulled up. So
well, there was also another stat I was trying to find too. Was something I believe it was. I think Hurts only had I think it was something like 60 passing yards or 65 passing yards.
Jalen Hurts had 46 passing yards going into halftime.
Yeah. So it was all the way I think until the
fourth quarter.
Yeah,
third or fourth.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I think it was pretty late. And that deep ball actually was a lot of his yardage.
So, yeah, because Ken and Tim keep bringing it up. Let's just talk about the Valdez-Scantling drop right there at the end zone. Yes, Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped a ball that most wide receivers in the NFL would catch. However, the Eagles have 3 timeouts and a minute 46 on the clock. You can't tell me that, the Chiefs would have won the game had Valdez-Scantling caught that ball, because you don't know. You just don't. So you can make excuses and say, well, if he had, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, you know what I mean? He didn't catch it. We're sitting here 9-1, and we're not even talking about what happened with a Jalen Hurts drive at the end of the game. And that's something that I said right after it happened last night. I was like, even if he had scored here, you give Jalen Hurts 3 timeouts and a minute 46 to go down the field. But yeah. Ken Brandt says he going back to the Brian Johnson thing, which you referenced, he says the play calling has been really suspect. Actually, what he says is it sucks. I'm saying suspect. I don't disagree. You get a fumble recovery from Travis Kelce down on the 11-yard line, and you run 3 quick bubble screens.
I was going to say bubble screen the whole night.
now, listen, because you wanted to bring the stat up. DeAndre Swift on 2 of the bubble screens made about 10, 15 yards on the play, and then on the last one, on the second to last drive before the Devontae Smith throw on the 3rd and long. If that linebacker for the Chiefs doesn't come up and make a great play, Swift is off for the races. There's nobody near him.
Yeah.
So sometimes they work, but situationally. Now,
there's so many times situationally where they could go to that screen pass, and someone like Zacchaeus or Swift, like you said, is wide open, and there is just no one there, and it's the perfect time to throw it there, and it just doesn't go there.
Correct.
I don't get it. Sorry.
No, I'm right. Again, some of it might be execution on Jalen Hurts. Now, it's hard to say Jalen Hurts isn't executing. I mean, now I do look, his numbers are a little bit wonky because he does have 9 interceptions now, but He's got 24 total touchdowns on the season and 9 turnovers. He's thrown for 2,500 yards and he's rushed for over 600. The stats say Jalen Hurts is playing well. So you kind of look at the play caller in this situation.
That's what right? Honestly.
Again, 68.5% completion percentage, 94.8 QBR overall on the season. Jalen Hurts is playing good football. So if the Eagles offense is struggling, I'm sorry, but you can yell at execution. I'll say till I'm blue in the face, you can say it's execution. But if the play call is crap, the play call is crap.
Because what about that 3rd and 1, right? Like, what was that, dude?
You're in a shotgun stance and you hand the ball off to DeAndre Swift. It doesn't make sense. The play calling is not good there. Yeah. So I do agree that something's got to change. I don't know if Brian Johnson specifically has to be the person to change, or if Nick Sirianni just goes into the offensive room today because they are meeting. That'll be tomorrow. They're going to be meeting, and Nick Sirianni says, "Hey, Brian, I need you to get your head out of your ass because your play calls are really suspicious." But again, we say all these things, and the team is 9-1.
Yeah, of course, I know. It's I mean, I'm not. But is that a testament to the overall just, I don't want to say unbelievable, but like, like the talent of our team, of our roster. I mean, our roster is very deep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we have we're developing some defensive backs, you know what I mean? Like, they got some kinks to be worked out, but there's some really young talent there that has a lot of potential, right? And
yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, exactly, right. So
let's so I agree. Some of the miscommunication is what I'll say, because play calling, miscommunication, whatever, can be overcome by the ability of the player. And for instance, let's just go into this one. Because I'm agreeing with you, like the talent on our roster is so good that it's overcoming poor play calling. And I agree with you. Patrick Mahomes was not able to do that last night. Not that I think Andy Reid called a bad game, but he did exactly what he always does when he gets ahead in games, and he abandoned the run. Meanwhile, they had rushed for 142 yards or something like that in the first half against the Eagles. That was the recipe to beat the Eagles. It was on a plate in front of you, Big Red.
I think,
and you went away from it.
I don't know if it was necessarily Andy's call for that, because it seemed like at one point, I forget when it was, but it was pretty, I guess, dramatic or whatever, where they were yelling. Andy was yelling at Pat because he wanted to slow the game down, right? He's like, "What are you doing? You're going down the field. We're trying to get in the second. We're trying to score and then go into the second half." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
no,
yeah. I just think that maybe it might have been Pat Mahomes wanting to show off, or maybe that was the angle there.
Maybe.
But you said, like you said, there's histories with Andy.
Yeah. Look, Patrick Mahomes has his worst game of the season last night, and he still throws for 2 touchdowns. 55.8 completion percentage, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Well, no, he did play worse against the Broncos 2 weeks ago. But other than that game, this is his worst, 71.6 QBR. And, I mean, you really got to give credit to these here halftime adjustments, right? Sean Desai and even Brian Johnson to an extent, because, again, you go down and you put up 14 points, your defense gives up 0, you win the game 21-17, But I don't want to give Brian Johnson too much credit. I'm really going to give more to Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
Because he didn't really make any adjustments, like we were saying, like with that 3rd and 1. Like, what the hell was that? You know what I mean?
An extremely poor play call.
And then all those bubble screens, like you were saying, like that, he did that the whole night. And I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't want to talk badly about Nick Sirianni, but I'm starting to lose a little faith in him a little bit too, just because of, like, when I watched the game, I rewatched it today, and I rewatched it on the Manning cast, and he's over here talking about all these plays that he used to run in the 2000, and it's like, is he's going back to his comfort zone? I don't know. Like, it makes me a little worried, but.
Tim Hawkins says the Eagles at least stuck with the run. Yeah, I don't know if you were here a few minutes ago when I was talking about how Big Red did exactly what Big Red always does and abandon the run. But the play calling on offense was not perfect, and I will agree with that. Again, to your point, and it's a great point, Kyle, is I believe that the talent on our team is so good that it can overcome poor play calling, especially on the offensive side of the football. I mean, when Goddard gets healthy, they didn't. Oh, for what it's worth, Dallas Goddard didn't get put on the IR, and it's not like baseball where you can backdate it. Like they needed to put him on the IR if they thought he was going to miss 4 weeks of football. He might not miss 4 weeks of football. And if Goddard comes back, I mean, you've got Dallas Goddard, who's I believe he really is top 5 tight end in football. You've got AJ Brown, who's. Go ahead.
I'm just saying he's so underappreciated. It's insane.
Not
it's because
in Philly, he ain't.
Well, no, I just meant like as as an elite tight end, because he's blocking so much, you're not necessarily seeing him in these routes. You know what I mean? But he's amazing. I mean,
that's what makes him even better. That's what makes him better than like Kelsey can block, but then the Kittles and the Mark Andrewses and those guys, because those guys don't really block.
Yeah.
But Dallas Goddard does it all.
Oh, Kittle. Oh, dude, Kittle blocks. Kittle definitely blocks.
All right,
I think Kittle, but Kelsey, he's never blocked. He blocked last night because he fumbled.
But going to the halftime adjustments that I wanted to bring up, Sean Desai in that defense, they realized they were getting beat in the rushing game, and they made some serious adjustments at halftime. They started bringing Zach Cunningham down and leaving him in the box. They pulled Nick Morrow and let him shade to the side Kelsey was on, with Byard covering over the top, but you still left the linebacker in the box. And it really changed the outcome. It really did change the outcome of the game, because if they continue to run the way they were in the first half, the Eagles lose that football game. So Sean Desai, I'm giving you an A+ on your halftime adjustments. Good job, coach.
Oh yeah, and we got, I think, like, I'm not trying to but we got a lot, pretty lucky with a lot of pass interference calls, I think, as well, with Slay and them. But again, they were getting really lucky. Like, I mean, Jalen Carter held like every play. Play.
For what it's worth, I think Jalen Carter does get held every play.
I
like it when referees let them play. Like, if it's not blatant and you're not like dragging them to the ground, let them play, because the receiver's pushing too. Like, you guys are pushing each other. But I'm also a fan of the fact that the refs didn't call it both ways, right? Like, it wasn't like they weren't calling it against the Eagles and were calling it against the Chiefs. Just let them play. I'm actually a huge fan of that.
But they were I feel like they were like trash numbers. Like, I feel like they just kind of raised the tally on the Chiefs. Like, they were kind of like throwaway penalties that didn't really matter a lot of the time too, right?
Which is also, you don't want a penalty to decide the end of the game. Like 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys, two huge, if you were the let them play type of referee, not questionable type calls, got the Cowboys in field goal range just because Dak Prescott sucks and steps on the goal line or the out of bounds line on a 2-point conversion. Doesn't mean that those two, I'm a huge fan of, especially in crunch time, let them play.
Yeah. Like, when they called the pass interference call, I thought we were done. I was like, we're toast. I was like, that's game.
Yeah. The other A+ I'm giving is to the offensive line in the second half. You give up 5 sacks in the first half on Jalen Hurts, and then you don't give up a single one in the second half. You guys figured it out too. Jeff Stoutland, A+, coach.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Devontae Smith. Tim Hawkins has already said that he believes Devontae Smith is being underused. I don't think that's the case. He's on the field. He's running routes. I just think that, AJ Brown is more comfortable with, Jalen Hurts is more comfortable with AJ Brown in tight situations. And that leads to less targets around and more targets to AJ Brown. But when AJ Brown only catches one ball for 8 yards and Devontae Smith goes for 699, and he almost catches a touchdown there, the game-winning touchdown after Jalen Hurts pushes it in on the brotherly shove. It's just goes to show that he's doing like the intangibles is what Nick Sirianni constantly talks about. The stuff that you don't see because he doesn't have the football in his hands. Devontae Smith is doing all those things, and he's doing them well. He's going to get his. He really is. He didn't score a touchdown last game or yesterday, but he had 1 touchdown in each of the last 2 games prior to that. He's got 4 on the season. He's going to get his. He really is. So for you fantasy owners of Devontae Smith, I wouldn't hit the panic button. Devontae Smith's going to get his. It's just the fact that AJ Brown is so good that AJ Brown, in a tight spot, I'm probably trusting AJ Brown's strong ass hands to, skinny Batman's, throwing it out there.
I mean, it just comes down to you got to take what's open, right? You take what they're giving you, and if that's like a little slant pass or if it's a deep, wheel route or what, you know what I mean? Like it's just you take what's given to you, and I think a lot of the time he is trying to force it to AJ Brown too much.
I agree.
And I think
I'm
that's
right there
the
with
problem that they're having in the offense. Well, not the problem, but it is a large problem is the fact that he's trying to force it because you can see half the time he's always locked in on AJ Brown the whole time. And I mean, like they know where the ball's going half the time. I mean, come on.
That actually worked out in their benefit last night, especially on the 41-yard bomb to Devontae Smith, is because Jalen Hurts was looking at AJ Brown and then just glanced over and flung it downfield. The safety pulled towards AJ because that's the way Jalen was looking.
Yeah.
Listen, people in Philadelphia are going to make a big deal about the fact that AJ Brown blew up on the sideline after the interception by Jalen Hurts. I understand both sides of it. AJ Brown ran his route, realized there's nobody in front of me. Jalen needs to put the ball over top so I can go get it and run for a touchdown. Jalen, unfortunately, didn't have time, didn't see AJ make the adjustment to the route and threw it where he was going to be based on the route book. So I see both sides of it. So it's an unfortunate interception being thrown by Jalen Hurts. Now, the blowing up on the sideline situation, AJ Brown, you're one player on a team. You ain't the team.
I mean,
you're good, and you're super important. But we are 9-1 as a team.
Yeah, but I mean, they all do it, right? Like Hurts does it as well. Like he's blowing up on Mulata or.
Here's the thing: when a quarterback goes and makes adjustments to a lineman, or that's different than a wide receiver screaming at a quarterback because you guys mixed up a route. And this is the second time this season that we've seen it happen. Like that's why. That's why the media is going to make it a bigger deal.
I mean, see, this is the thing, though. Is this is the problem is that him just wanting the ball to be fed to him is that he's got his arm up, like he's calling for the ball, right? And then it just he shouldn't have asked for it. I don't think in that specific time because of like you said, it was a mix up in the route.
It was a mix up in the route specifically because AJ Brown thinks Jalen Hurts has time because you anticipate you have the best offensive line of football. Your quarterback's going to have time, so he breaks free. He sees there's no safety over top. He wants the ball deep. Jalen, on the other hand, is getting blitzed. Both safeties, there's no safety over top because they're coming at Jalen Hurts. Gets out of the box as quick as he can, and then just throws the ball to where he thinks AJ Brown is going to be. Again, it's a miscommunication, but I don't want to say that either of them were wrong. It's just unfortunate it was an interception.
I mean, honestly, I kind of want to say I don't understand why you would put the ball there personally. And I also feel like when he did throw that deep ball to Devontae Smith, I feel like he kind of underthrew that. That should have been a touchdown, honestly.
He did underthrow it. He admitted in the post game presser. Now keep in mind it was raining all night last night.
Exactly right. It's just little subtle things. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. It doesn't have to be the end of the world.
Tim Hawkins says, "Did you see the check Jalen made?" And Kelsey was shaking his head. No. Yeah, it was on a 3rd and I think 3 or 4. It was a design quarterback run. Jalen Hurts saw something or thought he saw something. Jason Kelsey said, "Nope, you don't see it. We're going the way we're supposed to be going." And they gained 12 yards on a quarterback run. Sometimes as a young quarterback, you should listen to the veteran center. Let's see. Big story here.
Finally beat the cheese. I called that shit.
Kyle, you did call it. Yes.
I think I almost called the score too, almost pretty much. I think I said 2017 or something.
I think you did say 2017. So you got kudos to Kyle for
I don't know where I got 20, but I got there somehow.
That's fine. You said a lot of field goals. It just ended up not being that way. Yeah.
A lot of field goals.
But no, so Jason Kelsey has never beat Andy Reid or his brother Travis Kelsey. So it was a big win for Jason Kelsey. And the Eagles were 0-4, including the postseason, Super Bowl, in their last 4 matchups against Big Red and the Chiefs. So, probably felt really good for Nick and the gang to get the win there. Just 9-1. I can't stress this enough. Going into halftime, I said to myself, well, the Lions are going to be the 1 seed because the Lions beat the Chiefs. That's how big this game was. There were so many underlying factors. And look at the Chiefs now. They're not the number 1 seed in their own conference because they lost to the Eagles. Also, Tim Hawkins brings this up. He says Chiefs were undefeated when scoring first the last 2 seasons. They weren't last night. again, so many intangibles, so many things to talk about going into the game. When the Chiefs score first, they're undefeated. Patrick Mahomes has never lost in November. Big Red is miraculous 22-3 coming out of the bye week in his career as head coach. Like so many different storylines going on. And then, the second half, the Eagles just didn't care about them. They decided it was their game. They were going to play the way they wanted to play. And 14 points get you the win. Biggest thing for me. The Eagles are 9-1, and they still aren't playing their best football. This is a damn good team. They don't look it right now, but they're a damn good team, and they're 9-1. So keep in mind that when they finally hit their stride, I don't think there's a team in the NFL that can beat them. Thoughts on that, Kyle?
On what exactly?
Anything?
On anything? I'm not really sure. What were you just talking about?
I was saying how the team is still 9-1 and they haven't played their best football yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously their ceiling is really high, like you said, like what the team is capable of. There's been some injuries and stuff like that guys are dealing with. Still dealing with. I mean, like that's another thing too that we didn't even talk about. Hurts' knee injury that he doesn't want to talk about, but it's relevant. You know what I mean? The fact that he's playing as well as he is with that injury, right? And he doesn't even want to talk about it either, right?
Yeah.
So that's something in itself. I do think I was wrong about him initially about his commitment to the city. I think he's a lot more committed than I thought, but it's just that I think that what you like. All right, so when you look at the Chiefs as an organization, right? Pat Mahomes is a effing machine, dude. He's like Tom Brady. Like if you want to beat Tom Brady, you got to be like, you got to be a machine like that. That QB1 or whatever the hell the name of that show is on Netflix.
I think it's just called Quarterback, yeah.
Whatever it's called. Yeah. They go all into what Pat Mahomes does to be Pat Mahomes. I mean, it's crazy. The guy is an amazing athlete, and he kicks it up a notch in his training and in his everyday everything, right? Mm-hmm. So, I just hope that we have that same level of commitment in our team as well.
I think we do. I listen. Jalen Hurts declined being on that show because he said he didn't want the distraction. So I mean, that's something.
You just did the Hulu one.
You had one more thing you wanted to talk about. It's not really Eagles related, except I guess Joe Flacco did previously play for the Eagles for a very short amount of time. Thoughts on the Browns' crappy organization? Go ahead, Kyle. Tell us a story.
Did Joe Flacco really play for the Eagles at one point?
He didn't start a game, but he was on the roster as the backup at one point, yes.
Wow. God, those were some dark times. I'm glad I don't remember that.
I think it was 2017. The Eagles ended up winning the Super Bowl that year.
He was traded him.
Yeah, they traded him to the Jets after like week 3, and then that's when McCown became the backup. Or was it no, Foles. Foles was the backup.
Yeah.
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 No, listen, what Kyle's talking about here is the thoughts on the crappy Browns organization is they signed Joe Flacco. They already had Dorian Thompson Robinson on the roster. They used Ryan said this on our show the other night. They used draft capital on this kid Robinson, and then Deshaun Watson gets hurt, and you immediately move off of him and bring in Joe Flacco. I don't understand it, but go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I'm thinking maybe Joe Flacco is a meat shield. Just hear me out. Maybe Joe Flacco is being thrown to the Wolves so that they have a placeholder so that they do have faith in DTR, but they want to kind of preserve him, so they'll throw Joe Flacco out there to get more.
I don't know, man. They're in the playoff hunt. I'm playing the best talent.
Well, then I don't know why they ended up with Joe Flacco. Dude, I would love to eat my words. How old is Joe Flacco now? Is he like
35, 36?
Yeah, he's like our age.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. So I can't wait to see it. I'll tell you that much. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I can't wait to see it.
Joe Flacco is 38 years old.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
And I tell you what, I know what I feel like.
Yeah,
And if he
yeah, I
feels like
know.
that, good luck. Have fun with that.
But yeah. All right. Well, congratulations to Joe Flacco getting another contract.
Congratulations, Joe.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah,
He's
that's
from
gonna.
Hamilton, isn't he?
He played. What's Edgewater High School? He played over there.
Was it Edgewater? I thought it was Hamilton. All right.
I thought it was Edgewater.
Sorry,
I think. I don't know. No, so yeah. So he is from South Jersey, which is where Kyle and I are both from.
So is Hassan Reddick.
Yes, he is. Correct. DeAndre Swift is a South Philly kid.
I think they just they retired his number, Hassan Reddick
at his high school.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Haddon Heights High School.
All right, Ken Brandt. We can talk about this really quick. What about it? Ken Brandt says, "How about Wentz to the Rams? He's the new backup quarterback in Los Angeles." Yeah, it happened last week.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Well, he's the new backup quarterback in LA, a team that could have drafted him first overall, but they drafted Jared Goff instead. And then Matt Stafford got healthy and played. So Carson Wentz is the backup quarterback in LA. That is all I've got to say about that. Listen, if he's still a locker room cancer, he ain't gonna be there long because Sean McVay ain't dealing with that shit.
No. Well, dude, there's no way he could ever be like that. They wouldn't accept him into the organization if they even had the inkling of an idea that he would even act like that. They probably told him, "You better keep your mouth shut, or we're gonna send Aaron Donald after you."
you're gonna be Aaron Donald's tackling dummy. That would be good. But,
yeah.
No, that's gonna do it here for us on BSing Sports.
Oh wait, one more thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One more thing. I just saw some. You should look it up. Everyone, look it up. Joe Burrow is on track to be sacked more in his first 5 years than Andrew Luck ever was.
Oh no, I do
know
that.
How messed up is that? How crazy is that?
Yeah,
that's very sad and depressing. I'm sorry for you, Joe Burrow. May you get better soon.
If AZ Money, thanks for tuning in. Ken Brandt said he's on his best behavior, referring to Carson Wentz. Joe Burrow, yes, get soon. It's kind of listen. I think I've talked to you about this 3 or 4 different times. It's a copycat league, right? The Eagles are so good because they built in the trenches. How come a team like the Bengals, who have signed their star quarterback, their franchise quarterback, can't get the damn offensive line right?
I don't know.
Man, I tell you what.
Look what the Giants did. Straight off the couch. That's funny. What was that? Palmer, Dan Palmer, whatever. He's like straight off the couch.
Yeah, crazy, man.
That's so funny.
I just realized why Z Money was putting up the dots here. You must have missed the beginning of the show where I talked about the MVS thing. The Eagles had 3 timeouts in a minute 46 to get down the field. The MVS would-be touchdown. He should have caught it. The would-be touchdown doesn't matter because, again, the Eagles would have had 3 timeouts, a minute 46, and they had just driven down the field their last 2 drives to score touchdowns. I think that game still ends with the Eagles winning. It just goes to the over rather than the under. Sorry. I know that you're upset because the Cowboys had a shot at getting closer to the Eagles, but it didn't happen. Sorry,
I called it, and I never had faith. I mean, I never lost faith that the Eagles are going to win that game, even when they were losing. I don't know. I just think they're going to win, man.
I kept saying to myself, they're a second-half team this year. They've shown that they're a second-half team this year. But, man, it's tough to believe when you're down, what was it, 10 or 14 point, whatever it was, to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. So, but
we got to get our passing game fixed. And when we get that solved and everything
will be right. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you. All right, but that's going to do it here on BSing Sports, part of the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.